Hello everyone! Today I am going to be doing my September, October, and November wrap-up. I have really been dreading filming this because I'm still ashamed of myself, and I say this every single wrap-up pretty much this whole entire year that I have not been reading, and it's true. I haven't been reading. Anime has taken over my life. School and work have been really busy too, and I just haven't been reading. And I hate filming this video because I hate talking about how I haven't been reading that much because it saddens me. It really does. But I think I'm slowly, very slowly getting out of my reading slump, so that's a good thing. I'm really hoping that this feeling of wanting to read will continue. I put out a spooky October TBR and I was planning on reading a bunch of scary books, and I started the first book on my list and I didn't finish it, and I didn't read any of the books on my TBR. So that right away, I was really just dreading filming that because I put out a TBR, I never put out TBRs, and I didn't even finish one book on my TBR for that month. So it just was an all around just bad reading month, and I feel like it was extra bad because I couldn't even finish one book on my TBR. I'm still in that place where I'm literally picking up books and reading them halfway and just not finishing them. I'm basically in the middle of reading 5 to 6 books and I'm just halfway through them and I haven't finished them. I have so many books that I just need to finish. You've heard enough about me not reading. You get the point. I haven't really read a lot, but I did read a decent amount of books these past 3 months. The first book I finished in September was Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas. If you do not know, which I'd be really surprised if you don't, this is the 5th book in the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. It's a well-loved book. I can't really go into too much about what this book is about because it would be some major spoilers, and to be honest, I would be really surprised if you haven't heard of Throne of Glass, at least just heard of it, even if you haven't read it. And as you may or may not know, I am not really a fan of these books. I love her A Court of Thorns and Roses series, but her Throne of Glass series, I'm not really a huge fan of, but I did like this one just a little bit more than I liked the 3rd and the 4th book. I do actually have a full-length review on this book. If you want to check it out, I'll leave it down in the description for you so you can hear more of my thoughts and why I liked it a little bit more. I am excited for the last book of this series, but honestly, it's not one of my favorites. Kind of disconnected from the main character, and it's an okay series for me. I know a lot of people have problems with this series, but a lot of people do love this series. And I gave this book about like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It definitely isn't my favorite, but it was still a lot better than the other books in this series. So the next 7 books, they're all the same manga, and I don't remember which months I read them in. I think I read 1 or 2 in September, a few more in October, and then I'm pretty sure I read 1 or maybe 2 in November. So I kind of read them all throughout the months. I don't really remember in which months I read them, but I read volumes 4 through 10 of Death Note. I love this series so much. It's so good. It's so interesting, so compelling, and this is really what I've been reading for the most part. And even though I'm in a major reading slump, I'm always really excited to read these books, and I always save them and I read them when I'm at work. This has been really getting me through my reading slumps. This is what I've been reading if I am reading. Since I read volumes 4 through 10, I really can't get into much about what these are about. But the first volume is about a super genius named Light. One day at school, he finds a death note and he picks it up, and he basically goes on a murdering rampage, and he wants to cleanse the earth from all evil, and there is a guy named L who is trying to catch him. It's just such a good series. Even if you don't really read manga, I would suggest picking this series up because I didn't read manga in a long time, and I picked up the first volume of Death Note and I was just sucked back into it. It's definitely a dark series, but it's a very, very good one. Volumes 4 through 6, I each gave 5 out of 5 stars. And then volumes 7 through 10, I gave 4 out of 5 stars. The reason why I gave the 7 through 10 4 to 5 stars was because something happened in volume 7 that I am really, really mad about, and if you have read this series, you probably know what I'm talking about. And while I still really, really love this series, there was some new characters introduced, which I don't really know how I feel about them quite yet. I'm not really huge fans of the new characters that came in. The last ones were a little bit slower for me, but they're still very, very good, and that's why I gave them 4 out of 5 stars. I just didn't give them 5 out of 5 stars. But really, I just love this series, and I only have 2 more volumes, and that makes me really sad because I really don't want this to end because I just love this series so, so much. So I'm just adding this clip in because as I was just about to edit my video for my wrap-up, I realized that I completely forgot 3 books that I read, and I literally just talked about them in my book haul, which I filmed literally right before I filmed my wrap-up. So I don't know why I forgot them. Maybe because I put my books away after I did my book haul. I don't really know. But I am just going to quick add in here that I read 3 more manga, and that is volume 6, volume 7, and volume 8 of Black Butler. In my book haul, I mentioned that I skipped around since I've only read the first volume of Black Butler, and the reason why I picked up these 3 volumes was because I watched the anime of Black Butler, and in the anime they had a season called Book of Circus. Just being very vague about it, Ciel goes to investigate some kidnappings, and he goes to the circus to kind of investigate. So that is what Book of Circus is about, and I loved the anime of Book of Circus so much. The characters, everything about Book of Circus, the anime, was just so beautiful. I wanted to rewatch it the minute I finished it, and so that is why I picked up these 3 volumes, because these 3 volumes are all of Book of Circus. I talked about these a little bit in my Goodreads review. I will leave a link of my Goodreads down below, and I'll leave a link to my review on each of these volumes down in the description as well. So if you want to check it out, you can look at that as well. But I mentioned in my Goodreads review that I liked the anime a little bit better than the manga because the anime had a few extra scenes in it that it didn't have in the manga, and I just really like those scenes. But the manga did not disappoint. I gave each of them 5 stars because they were all just so incredibly good, and I know that whenever I'm just in the Book of Circus mood and I can't rewatch the anime, I know I'm gonna pick these up again because I just love this story so much. And if you have not started reading Black Butler or watching the anime, I suggest starting it just so you can read Book of Circus, because Book of Circus is so good. And I'm sure you could just skip and read Book of Circus, but you'd probably be really confused because there are a few things that have been in the previous anime and manga, so you might be a little confused. If you haven't read Book of Circus yet, you're missing out because it is incredible. So I just wanted to quick add that in because I completely forgot to add it in, and I feel so dumb for forgetting, but that's alright. And the last book I read, which I just finished before I flew back home, and this is definitely one of my favorite books of all time, and definitely one of my favorite books of this year, and that is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. Now, I don't know why I didn't pick this one up sooner, and I really regret not picking it up sooner because I loved this book. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. Obviously, it was so good. Let me just repeat to you, this book is so good. Now, if you are really not familiar with Rainbow Rowell's books, I've only read Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, and while I liked that book, it actually wasn't one of my favorites. I'm pretty sure I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, but I really didn't love it as much as other people did. But when I heard that this book was coming out, I got really, really excited about it. And if you do not know, this is, it's really confusing, but in Fangirl there was this story about a guy named Simon Snow. And this book is that book from Fangirl, if that makes sense. So this book is all about Simon Snow. So basically it's a story about a story in a story, if that makes sense. You would get it if you read Fangirl, but this book was just so good. I literally, when I finished it, I actually cried in the airport. I didn't cry my eyes out, like I was tearing up. They were kind of flowing out of my eyes, but I covered my face so no one could see that I was crying, and I really composed myself quickly, but I just never wanted this book to end, and I started my trip off by reading this book while I was waiting in the airport to fly to Florida, and literally while I was sitting waiting to board my flight to go back home, I finished this book. It's just about Simon Snow and his roommate Baz, and every time I think about this book, I just love it so much. That's literally all I can say about it, is that I just love it. And if you have not picked it up, for whatever reason, you need to pick it up, because I really regret not picking this up sooner. I love the romance in this book. It was extremely funny. I was laughing out loud at so many parts, even though I was in Disney, and don't get me wrong, I had a totally fun time in Disney. I loved doing all the different things that we did during the trip, but there was a lot of moments where I was like, I don't want to leave the resort because I just want to keep reading this book. And I was really tempted to buy it on ebook, which I still might. That's how much I love it. And I was really tempted to just buy it so I could read it while we were in Disney, so I wouldn't have to stop reading this. That's how good it was. And that's why I also said that I'm slowly getting out of my reading slump, because I said to my friends, I said I finally got out of a reading slump. But I basically got back into a reading slump because I have a book hangover now, and all I want to do is read this book. I don't want to read anything else. I don't want to read about a different story. I just want to reread this book and I want more. This book really needs a sequel too. Can we please get a sequel for this book? It is a great read, and if you're looking for a funny and good romance, this is definitely the book to pick up. So these are all of the books that I read in September through November. I'm really hoping that I will slowly get out of this reading slump and that I can read some more and get a reading wrap up right in December, and that I don't have to wait a few months before I have enough books to actually do a wrap up on. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe to my channel, please feel free to, and I will talk to you next time. Bye! Today I am going to be doing my, wait, what? Crap. Oh yeah, September. What video? I haven't done a wrap up in so long, I forgot where I ended up, which is really sad. Okay.